Who do you think tried to take you out?
So I'm going to give you some big breaking news, right? They did a great job.
Okay, so you're going back into this place where, there was this assassination attempt. They hit you. Headshot.
Yeah.
You survive.
Yeah. It was not a good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
Ear looks
scared?
better, by the way.
No, I'm not scared. I have an attitude. It's interesting. It is what it is. Does that make any sense to you? And I wasn't sure whether or not that thing, I had it in my mind for a long time. Once I said I'm going back, which I wanted to go back immediately, I wanted to actually finish my speech, okay? When I got up, I said, let me finish my speech. But I'm surrounded by like 8 very large, strong men and a very wonderful woman. You saw that.
Yeah.
But I'm surrounded by guys. They said, sir, no way, go. And I have blood pouring down, but I really wanted to finish my speech. I said, I think I had like 50,000. I had a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And, when I went down, I was sort of like embarrassed. I said, I went down in front of all these people. That was my first thing. I don't want to be embarrassed.
You were embarrassed that you went down after being shot?
Well, you weren't exactly sure what the hell was happening at first,
Yeah.
But also, you came back up with the fist raise. That's one of the hardest pictures.
I did, but I was also,
Did you hear them say he's down, or were you just
So when I got hit, I assume that, it's funny.
Is it?
When I was down there, it is sort of strange, I guess. Now it's a little bit, we can smile a little bit, but not really, because the 3 guys, 1 killed,
of course.
2 very
What a
badly.
dick.
Yeah.
But when I went down, I had total realization. It wasn't a surreal. They talked about a surreal. That could be a surreal experience, like when something happens, some traumatic thing happens. People they lose focus. They have no idea where they are. I've heard many people where that happens. Something really terrible happens that. It was just the opposite. I knew exactly what had happened. I got shot in the ear, and Secret Service thought I may have been shot. Actually, they were pretty sure that I was shot all over because there was a lot of blood. Just a little fact, if you get shot in the ear, it's the bloodiest place. It bleeds more than anything else.
Oh, wow.
Now, it's good to be shot this way, not that way. That way, that's bad. So if I don't turn, I would be doing this right now, guaranteed. Son Don told me, actually, he's a great shooter. So is Eric. They're great shooters. They're like better than scratch. Okay, if you use it. And they say it's amazing because it was 130 yards. To me, that sounds like far away, but it's not. For shooting, it's not. He said that would be like sinking a 1-foot putt for just a decent shooter.
Wow.
And I don't know if you guys are shooters, but they said if you're a shooter, it's almost impossible to miss. It's that close. It's really considered that close. I mean, 300, 400, 500 yards is very doable, but this is supposed to be very close. And so he said, I think Don became more religious, actually, you want to know the truth. It had a big impact. He said, it's impossible. The doctor, actually, when I got to the hospital, they were fantastic, Butler Hospital. I get there, and the doctor greeted me, and he looked at me and looked it over. He said, you are the luckiest man I've ever met.
Wow.
He said, you should immediately go out and buy a lotto ticket. Can you imagine? He's telling me to buy a lotto ticket. There's blood all over the place. Yeah. And he said, I've been doing this for 25 years. He said, I've never seen a thing like this.
Wow.
Because it's just whacked it, but it was something that was, relatively not so bad compared to what could have happened. He equated it to a 1-foot putt. When they say that, I say, wow, that's so, you're saying, they said a bad shooter would hit you from that distance 100% of the time.
Wow.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And here I am. We're doing this wonderful interview with 4 geniuses that are hot as pistols, right? Good hearing this guy.
Likewise, sir.
Pretty good stuff you got there. So anyway, but here we are.
Who do you think tried to take you out?
So I'm going to give you some big breaking news, right?
Love that.
Because I know the kind of show and it's entertainment, but it's also very serious. I mean, I get the whole picture. And you know what? If it was just funny stuff, you wouldn't have the success you've got, to be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
It's nice to intersperse it, but I'll give you something. So, first of all, I have great respect for the Secret Service. And the guys that were with me, I went down and I did a good job going down because those bullets were winging over my head. If I would have been up for another couple of seconds, I also wouldn't have been here. But I didn't consider that as lucky as turning to the right at that one. It was like 1/16th of a second.
Yeah.
Was the only time that
Yeah.
I was safe, essentially.
Right.
If I would have gone a little further, I would have been hit. If I would have gone not as far, I would have been hit. I mean, I had like this little tiny moment. And the amazing thing is the sign is always on my left, and it's always at the end. And I only use it 20% of the time, maybe even less than that.
And
this
this
was
time
a
it's on the
chart.
right.
This was a chart on immigration
Yeah.
because I have the record. I did a great job in immigration. They are not doing too well right now.
Stay on the breaking news. Stay on the breaking news.
So here's the breaking. So you have this shooter, and you have another shooter, right? Yeah. So this shooter had 3 or so cell phones. The FBI's never gotten them opened.
Wow.
The other shooter, 3 apps, they call them. And I believe they were foreign-based apps, from what I understand.
Oh, wow.
They haven't opened them, and they're foreign-based. And, you know, you hear all about Iran, because I was rough with Iran, but I want to see Iran do great. I want to see Iran do great.
Yeah.
But I want to stop all the killing and all this. And I was rough on Iran, and they supposedly have a hit on me. In fact, I think it takes great courage for you people to be interviewing me, because it could be now, you know.
Yeah.
They
Well,
could
we
be
didn't know
right
that
now.
before we got in here.
No,
before.
if you would have known that, you might not have done this.
Yeah, exactly.
Secret Service.
In fact, this is a good way of me getting the interview to be shorter. All of a sudden, he's going to say, you know, okay, that's it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Go
It's
see
been
my
great.
daughter.
Yeah.
Anyway, they have 3 apps, and foreign-based, 2 of them, maybe 3 of them are foreign-based. They haven't
Wow.
opened them yet. Why wouldn't you open them when you hear about Iran or when you hear about, you know, foreign? Then the other one had 6 cell phones, and they haven't opened. Now, you know, it's very hard to open a cell phone. Only Apple can do it in theory, unless you have somebody. But they had no problem getting the J6 people's cell phones open. They opened their cell phones very quickly. You know, we have 2 countries in a way. What's happening here is very bad. It's very dangerous. We almost had one, because I had the greatest economy in the history of our country, and people were coming together. We almost had one, but we really do have 2 right now, and it's a shame, because I think we'll get them together. Success will bring us together, but they should get those phones opened. And, you know, when there's an assassination attempt on a former president who's now, I'm proud to say, leading in all the polls against the Democrat, I don't know which one is running. You know, you don't know what the hell's going on. I'm the only one that had to run against 2. I run against 2 Democrats, but this is a first. We create a lot of firsts. Usually you run against somebody. Here I run. I had the debate. I was way up on him.
Yeah.
And then they say, oh, let's put... This is like with Dana White, a fighter. So you're fighting, and the one guy's getting killed. And they say, oh, that's okay. Let's put in another fighter
him in.
to finish it off, okay?
Yeah.
And you're fighting. You say, hey, wait a minute. I have a brand new fighter in here.
WWE.
I spent $150 million on beating Biden, and then all of a sudden I hear that they're going to overthrow him. It was a coup. I mean, it really was. But I would like them to open up these apps and find out what's in there. And so he had six cell phones. Who has 6 cell phones? Having 6 cell phones is weird. I have cell phones. If I ever have 2, it's like a lot.
Yeah.
He had 6 cell phones. Why does he have them? And why haven't they opened up those cell phones?
So if you had to
And
guess,
it's different. You know, if you're a drug dealer, I think it's terrible in many ways, but I guess from another standpoint, Apple, the primary group, people buy those phones because they will never open them for any reason. But they got them open on J6. You know, they opened up their phones, but they don't open. And this is big stuff. This is an assassination attempt, and it could involve other countries.
There was that San Bernardino shooter that they hacked. The FBI was able to hack into the phone. Apple didn't give it up, but they were able to
There are
hack in.
some people in the world, very few, that have an ability to sometimes be able to hack in.
Got it.
Very rarely, actually.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing when you think that with all the genius, you almost can't do it. But Apple has a key, and the key is open. I mean, they can do it immediately.
Yeah.
But they don't do it, and they don't do it. And that's one of the reasons that, like, I hate to say it, drug lords feel very confident that they'll never be exposed. And they use their cell phones, their Apple phones, and maybe it's that way with other companies. I don't know. They have Samsung, they have other companies. But it's very hard. Apple's very strong on that. But when it comes to the assassination of a president, leading candidate, former president, all that, I think the rules have to go out and they have to open those things, then they have to find out.
In
you
terms
know,
of national
some
security,
people would
you
say
think
you have to either punish Apple or you have to get somebody that can do it. But in terms of national security, so the one guy has 6 phones, lots of messages to people. Who are those people he's calling when he's hiding behind a bush?
So if you had to guess, I'm sure obviously you've thought about this a lot. It's an assassination attempt. If you had to guess, who do you think is responsible?
These are great questions. What the hell? I don't get these questions from the fake news.
Yeah. Rosie O'Donnell's not asking
Like
this.
Deface the Nation. They have the woman on Brennan. She's on Deface the Nation. She was terrible with the way she handled J.D. Vance, who did a great job the other night.
He did do a great job.
But I don't get questions like that. Did you ever hear of the show? Deface, ladies and gentlemen, it's Donald Trump on Deface the Nation. It's called Face the Nation. They hate me.
No,
they spend millions of dollars.
They would name a show that?
Oh, I see. You didn't hear of it. That's good. They spend millions of dollars on the name CBS.
Yeah.
And then I come along and I say it's Face the Nation. Well done.
Yeah.
Or Meet the Fake Press. Meet the press.
You're good at this.
I say Meet the Fake Press.
Yeah.
And they spend all this money, and then I say it once, and it goes to millions of people.
Yeah.
But no, they are fake. But some of these questions are much better.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm honored.
Much better.
But you still haven't answered, though.
That was the best dodge of the question.
That's your second best dodge in your life.
You almost charmed us out of it.
Trying to get out of it.
All right, fair enough.
Well, look, if you look at assassinations or attempts, first of all, you realize I'm in a very dangerous business.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because 1/10, think of this, 1/10 of 1% of auto races die.
Yep.
Bull riders, I think that's pretty dangerous,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I don't know much about it, but I think I wouldn't want to be on one of those suckers.
No.
Yeah.
I see them flying off and the hoof is like an inch from the eye, and when it hits the eye, you're gone,
Game
right?
over. Yeah.
And they are well, it's about the same. 1/10 of 1%.
Yeah.
And other things, it's never much more than that. That's sort of maxed out, I think.
Yeah.
Race car drivers, bull riders, I think that's pretty much tough.
Yeah.
UFC fighters, it's none. I don't think anyone's ever actually...
Not in UFC. In MMA or boxing,
Maybe.
unfortunately,
It must
there was
be.
those tragic events. Yeah.
Amazingly, boxers die a lot. But UFC, Dana tells me it's a safe sport. I say, to me, it's much rougher. But, it's pretty amazing. They've never, in UFC, they've never lost. And they run a great operation. Nobody's died. But with presidents, it's like a substantial percentage.
Way higher than we
When
realized.
you look at Lincoln and Kennedy and this and that. I mean,
attempts,
you go
Reagan.
through McKinley.
Yep. Garfield.
You look at a lot of people. I'm in
Yeah.
a very dangerous
business.
profession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call it a profession.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
I
a
like
dangerous profession.
I like that.
I'm sitting with you guys. You have a very nice, safe life. Me?
Yeah.
So, no, if you said 5%.
I think he called us soft.
No,
Yeah,
but think
I'm fine
of
with
it. Yeah, but think of it. 5%.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's high.
That's a lot. And
I think even the attempts is something like
Attempts?
25%
Yeah.
of
attempts
presidents have had
is getting
attempt.
into really
crazy.
numbers. So people don't think of that. You run and you see, and then you win, and you're down Pennsylvania. You're looking at everything. So you're in a
That's the danger
dangerous
starts.
profession.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things. I was saying before, though, that, I do a thing called a weave.
Yeah.
And there are those that are fair that say, this guy is so genius. And then others would say, oh, he rambled. I don't ramble. If I
weave.
start a story,
Yeah.
what you do is you weave things and you do it. You have to have certain things. You need an extraordinary memory because you have to come back to where you started.
Yes.
You always, a weave is only good
They
if
don't
you
give
come
you credit
back.
for that.
Yeah, it's true.
That you could go all the way over here and then
I
get
can
back.
go so far here or there, and I can come back to exactly where I started. Now, someday when you don't come back to where you started,
You're Biden.
then you say, no, but the weave is the way. When you're telling like a story, I was telling a story at a rally the other day in front of thousands of people, and I started off, and then
You were weaving them up.
something in the story,
Bro.
I actually mentioned Air Force One. It was Air Force One was there. So I mentioned Air Force One, and then I said how I got $1.6 billion off the price of Air Force One. So, but then you have to come back to the story. Where was Air Force One taking you?
As I
So
was
anyway,
saying.
I do a weave. I call it the weave. And some people think it's so genius, but the bad people, what they say is, he was rambling.
Yeah.
It's not a ramble. There's no rambling.
This is a
with it.
weave.
This is a weave. I call it the weave. Good name. I'm not sure. That's another name. We had fake news.
Yeah,
we came
yeah.
up with lots of names.
Yeah.
But the weave is, I think we should make the weave a part of that stable.
Yeah, you really weaved right answering my question twice.
That's brilliant.
So
'Cause I don't even want to know the answer anymore.
Yeah.
I want you to keep weaving.
I lost interest.
We'll weave back. Let's weave back to his question. Because this is where it started. So we'll weave back to his. I sort of hate answering it because I don't want to give any false identities. I don't want to do anything having to do with creating something that isn't there. You would look at Iran. Iran has an open threat out for me, and that's bad. And Biden, if he were a real president, if he were the kind of guy he should be, should say, if anybody shoots a former president who's now the leading candidate, even though he's leading against Democrats, we will bomb that country into oblivion. And it would stop. And that's been said before with some people. You know, there have been people, I won't go into it, but there have been people that have been threatened in another party even. In the same party, it makes sense and probably happens pretty quickly. But in another party, you know, it's hard for them to
cross the line.
To want to protect me. But it shouldn't be hard. Other people have protected other people. And what you have to inform those people is if they do it, the country will be blown to smithereens. The entire country will be blown to smithereens. And those threats go away because that's a really bad threat for a country. Forget about me. I'm an individual. But I represent something very important.
It's true.
That's a really terrible threat. So, I mean, there are others that could be in that category. Look, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China at a level that no president took in anything. I had tariffs on China, took in hundreds of billions of dollars. They're still there. That without me, they wouldn't have those tariffs on. So you could say, but no, I think Iran would be the one.